Just some examples of the things that we talk about in our media analysis program. Sometimes it's war. Sometimes it's coverage of global trade, which is never seen as a women's issue, even though women are 90% of sweatshop workers in the world. And other times, it's pop culture and the ideas that women are, that violence is glamorous and sexy. So we'll look at, say, an episode of America's Next Top Model that posed all of the girls as beautiful crime scene dead victims. I called it the crime scene victims challenge, they called it. I called it the beautiful corpses episode, where the judges were saying, oh, I'm sorry, you don't look quite dead enough. We need you to look like you're brutally murdered. And you look great dead, and death becomes you, young lady. So we look at a wide variety of that sort of thing. So I'm going to move away from content now. I'm going to move to another project that we have that is aimed at solving some of these problems in media. I'm a big believer in multiple strategies. So while we're holding media accountable for problematic content, it's also important to provide journalists, good journalists in downsized newsrooms who don't have the time and the resources to do as much investigation and to expand their Rolodex the way they might like to, with solutions. So we have a project called the Power Sources Project. Stands for Perspectives of Women Expand Reporting, and we have a national network of women experts, not only policy wonks and politicians, but plumbers and painters. The idea is that if a booker for a talk show, if a journalist in a print outlet, etc., ethnic media, corporate media, independent press, whatever, are working on a story, they shouldn't only be able to call us for a woman's voice on abortion or rape or childcare. They should just be able to find good sources with something to say about anything. So if they're talking about war, great, we have someone. And if they're talking about a home improvement story, you know, I have a woman who can tell them how to snake a drain, too. Two other core platform points I'll just kind of race through. Media education. We do media trainings for women's organizations and women-led social justice groups. For example, Women for Afghan Women. I will wrap it up in 2 minutes, is that? Women for Afghan Women. After 9/11, we all remember how Afghan women were used as a convenient propaganda tool for war. But nobody was speaking with Afghan women about the situation in Afghanistan and the situation of women Afghan immigrants in New York. So we worked with Women for Afghan Women, helped them learn how to communicate with press, how to be go-to experts, how to develop relationships with journalists so that they could then cultivate a change in public debate. At the end of the trainings and the coachings, eventually they ended up with a New York Times authored editorial. Not bad. Times authored editorial about the Afghan women written proposed Afghan constitution. Brilliant stuff. That's the kind of thing that can happen when you empower women to communicate at a new level. And the last thing that I want to say is that within all of these, what connects all of these strategies is the sort of overarching media justice framework. And it connects not only what I do and what Women in Media and News does, but what Adrienne was talking about the need to communicate among ourselves. It connects independent media, but it's basically crucial, not only to the success of media strategies, etc. It's crucial to the success of every single one of you and your ability to create change. Because we've talked a lot at this conference about messaging. And I said I do media training, so I understand the need for positive and important and effective messaging. But messaging isn't enough. If the angel of the public interest came down from on high, waved a magic wand, and gave us the top 10 talking points that would convince every American to believe in every part of the progressive agenda that we want them to believe in, it wouldn't make a lick of difference if we're systematically kept out of the public debate. So what we need is to fund and to support in our activism and in our philanthropy efforts to create alternative independent media like Color Lines Magazine, like Bitch Feminist Response to Pop Culture, like cable access news programs, etc. We need to be funding and supporting and reading these kinds of outlets, but we also need to support organizations like, for example, Center for Media Justice right here in the Bay Area that looks at issues like the digital divide, issues like media consolidation, issues like cable access and franchising, and et cetera. And we also basically need to be looking at how to transform the power structure that creates all of the media and shapes public opinion about people, politics, and public policy in this country. If we do that, we win. If we don't do that, we never will. So I urge you to support the work of Women in Media and News, but also the work of CMJ, Texas Media Empowerment Project, the Ruckus Society, groups like Manhattan Neighborhood Network. The best media justice work in the country is being led by women, in particular women of color, and this is so crucial to the entire progressive agenda. Thank you so much. I'm sorry I went over by a minute or two.